Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about some fantasy baseball ADP movers as we are nearing the season, and today we're going to be doing the pitchers. Joining me is Jason Beckner. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Joe?
Good, man. It's late at night, but we're going to get through this. Again, my name's Joe Bond, Fantasy Six Pack founder at F6P Joe. You can find me there, but let's just jump into things, man,
Yeah.
and just rock and roll here. So, gonna be sharing our screen, getting you guys some information, and we're gonna be starting with pitcher Chris Sale, who. So the way we've done this is we've given you an ADP before March 1st and then since March 1st. And so basically, like right before when spring training started and then once spring training started, things are changing, right? And so Chris Sale before that, ADP around 155. Since then, 138 with a minimum pick, by the way, of 73. Yo, that's risky. What do you think about this guy, man? He's been super injured the last couple of years. You willing to buy in at this price?
Yeah, right. It's always funny seeing that min pick. It's like who out there is taking some of these huge risks. It's always fun. But yeah, when you're talking about Chris Sale, I mean, when he's healthy, he's a top tier pitcher. I think that's kind of one of the biggest concerns now going forward is the health. I know last year, he started off the year on the IL, had some rib injuries, came back, made 2 starts, and then took a comebacker off the hand. And then ended up missing the rest of 2022. So while he was injured, it was not really his fault or any sort of shoulder issue or elbow issue. It's kind of hard to blame him for getting a comebacker off the finger. Because in those 2 starts, he did look really good last year. So we kind of saw a little bit of the glimpse that we saw from him prior to that, and not quite peak Chris Sale, but he was there. Now coming into spring training, like you said, the ADP we're seeing kind of climb here a little bit. A lot of that is, the health is there. He's healthy once again. He's made 2 starts so far this spring. The strikeouts were there. He's got 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. Fastball still sitting in that mid 90s, 95 miles an hour. I think it was touched at. So I think right now you're seeing that huge rise in ADP because the health is there. You're seeing him on the mound. We're seeing him throw pitches looking similar to what he looked like when he was healthy. And believe it or not, he's only 33 years old. You think
I just noticed that. Actually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He'll be turning 34 in like a month.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, he's youngish for like an elite pitcher. I mean, you're looking at the Verlanders and the Scherzers and the Kershaws. Like, he's young compared to those guys, right? Like, geez. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
And when I saw looking at the ADP this week, we were going through all this stuff. There's guys like Kershaw. It's going almost 30 spots ahead of him. And I think if healthy, I'd rather have Sale over Kershaw at this point in their careers.
Yeah, I would too, actually, now that you say that. I'll be honest, I've had Sale on a dynasty team, until this year. I just traded him this offseason. My team's pretty bad, so Sale's not doing me any favors for quite a while. So it's time to unload him if somebody wants to give me. And I got Painter and Stone for him, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Those guys will help me along with all the other prospects I've got lined up to kind of, I'm pulling in Orioles, man. I'm loading up with prospects, and we're gonna all hit at the same time.
There you go. It's a solid strategy. So, yeah.
But with Sale though, man, it's so intriguing. It's so hard. Like I see his name pop up in drafts all the time. TGFBI and RazSlam and things like that. Like he pops up and they're just like, I don't know if I can do it. But I pulled the trigger last year at a much higher cost, and I wish I hadn't, obviously. But right now you're right. The spring stats are there. He's looking healthy. Some of the injuries have been fluky. But
yeah, I mean, you're talking about a 12th round pick right now, basically in a 12 teamer, a little bit of that. That's pretty good value right now, I think.
Yeah, it's still tough to pull the trigger for me just because of I got a little bias.
Yeah.
But when I see somebody pick him, I'm like, yeah. 73 would be a little high.
That's
73. That's a little aggressive. Costly for me. So that one maybe not so much. 138. That's okay, but he's probably, honestly, if if we had pulled the data, I guarantee, like just in the last like week, I guarantee that
Yeah.
138 is probably higher because
I was gonna say,
that
yeah.
min pick is probably within that earlier or more recent range. So
Right. And as we get closer to the season, you'll obviously see that ADP continue to rise.
oh yeah, especially if he keeps dominating throughout spring.
Yeah.
Clearly. It's tough though too because and before we move on with the rest of this, I want to get your thoughts. Like some of these pitchers that are sticking around, like a Chris Sale, right? They're not facing, they don't always face all the good hitters in spring anyway, but now they're facing even less of those guys because of the World Baseball Classic. How much does that factor into your performance? The performance should factor in a lot, and we always say this, it shouldn't factor in a lot with determining your draft values for these guys. But for some of these players that come into draft time, you want to see good performances, but maybe now is not a good representation of really how good they are.
Yeah, I think at some point you got to take a little bit of with a grain of salt, but I feel like some of these guys, like maybe like with Chris Sale, right? He's only pitched 7 meaningful innings in the last 14 months or whatever it may be. I think even to himself, he might have a little bit of something to prove to himself, and the front office that he is healthy and that he can go out there and compete. May not be against some of the best opponents, but he's still shown that he can proven to himself that he can be out on that mound with confidence.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's with a guy like Sale, you just want to see health and you just want to see good pitches being made. He's going to dominate the pitchers, the hitters he's facing right now because they're kind of nobodies, but you just want to see the pitches. So yeah, that's a good point. So let's move on here to another guy here, Joe Musgrove, San Diego Padres. This guy started out with actually a pretty high ADP of 85, has moved down to 111. The minimum pick within this range is still 83. It's actually higher than his ADP before that. So some of that is, he had the toe injury. He's now starting to pitch, and so maybe there was initial fear where he was going to miss weeks, maybe even a month or so into the season. Maybe now it's just could be like a couple of starts, if not at all. I've heard potentially. Yeah. Are you comfortable taking the chance on Musgrove now that the price has dropped, especially?
Yeah, like I said, I think the ADP is obviously warranted. We had that broken toe. I think at this point, if it continues to fall, absolutely. Even at 111, still a little high. But I mean, the worst thing that worries me is I'm not a doctor, but it's his big toe on his left foot, which for a right-handed pitcher would be his planting foot So that's to me, that might be something that might linger and be out there, and they're putting him on the super aggressive timeline. They're already come out and said that he might be ready for his April 6th start, which would be missing.
That's
I think,
what I was getting at. Yep.
Yeah. So if something like that could end up being a lingering issue. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a lingering issue, but it's just something that popped up in my mind when I thought about it. If he continues to fall a bit further than that, all day I'll take him out. Even at 111, I think he's absolutely could bring back great value at that range. I mean, you're getting him at again like 10th round, 11th round. Again, the only thing that worries me is the aggressive timetable. Someone of his caliber, you want maybe to see him a little bit easy in, especially in the spring, right? Like, give him a couple weeks to rest up, get that toe healed. But so just looking at the ADP, there's some guys that are going slightly after him that I'd probably, going into the season, they don't have any health concerns and may not have a lingering issue. That's Blake Snell, like a Logan Webb. I think I'd even take him over Musgrove at this point, just based on the fact
like the Blake Snells, huh?
I do. I think
so nervous about him. He's been kind of bad the last couple of seasons, man, even when healthy.
Yeah, I think when he got over last year, he got over to the full season with San Diego. He kind of turned the corner a little bit. Had a little bit of a bounce back last year. Logan Webb for sure I would take over Musgrove at this point. But again, at 111, you're going to be getting, if he comes back and just doesn't miss start at all, you're going to be getting great value.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You bring up the the draft price here, and so I actually drafted him in Slam, which is a best ball format, and so there's lots of depth, so you can kind of take on a little bit of injury depth, knowing that he's hoping, I guess not knowing, he's hoping that he might miss at most like a month. That's kind of what I was going at. I got him in the very back end of the 11th round, so 11-11. So I'm looking at 10 picks, 12 plus my 11. I'm looking at a 131 draft pick there.
Huge.
I was like, that's a no-brainer. I mean, you're talking about all the guys, right? Snell, Webb, Severino. They all went right ahead of him. And in best ball leagues, you also have to consider a lot of these closers don't go where they went. So, I mean, like Hader went in the same round. Right? Hader went in 11 because they're not as valued, right? And so, like, there were other starters that went way ahead of him that I was like, holy cow. Like, okay, you guys are going to leave me Musgrove and take that upside chance. He was my 4th starting pitcher. I was all over it.
And I feel like in that format of best ball where, like, you're looking for that upside and at getting a good return on your value, I mean, look no further than Joe Musgrove, 130 or something you said?
It's gonna be lockdown, dude. It's gonna be awesome.
Because
I've got guys that can, fill in for him here and there, and I don't want to get into it because these are supposed to be kind of quick shows, but that's the way to do it. I drafted him somewhere else too. I forget where, but it was still, around that 111 range. People are afraid, so if you can take advantage of it, I absolutely would do it. So let's move on here to my Baltimore Orioles, Grayson Rodriguez. He's been climbing. What really makes you think that this is happening, and do you agree with it? I mean, this guy has not pitched an inning in a major league ball game yet.
Yeah. Last year there was a lot of talk in spring training that he was going to make the team out of spring training, and then obviously he got hit with that injury. So we all got to wait another year to see, arguably baseball's #1 pitching prospect. But I think, this year to kind of ease him along in the spring, I don't think they want to have a repeat of what happened last year where they kind of threw him out there a bunch in spring. So I think, I think absolutely he starts the year with Baltimore. He started out spring strong. He's only, he was roughed up the last time he was out, but he does have 11 Ks and 7 innings this spring. The ADP again continues to rise for obvious reasons. But to me, I'm just not sure I'm ready to take that leap. Do I think he's going to dominate and be a good pitcher on the mound? I think he will. He's also a rookie. He's going to have his bumps, but those innings are going to get limited, right? These guys coming off an injury. He's still a rookie. They're probably going to give him like 100, maybe 120 innings.
Yeah.
To me, that's just not worth the risk and the reach on a Grayson Rodriguez. Like I said, I think he will. I think he'll come up and obviously be able to, showcase what he can do even in the majors, even though he hasn't pitched in the majors. I think he will still be able to show that he belongs. I just don't know if I'm willing to take that risk of only getting, a lot of skip starts, a lot of phantom IL trips, anything they can do to limit those innings.
Dodgered?
Yeah, he gets dodgered. Exactly. Yeah.
You heard that? Have you heard
Dave Roberts.
that term?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
For those of you who don't know,
Dave
dodgered
Roberts.
is, when you say phantom ILs, it's oh man, Kershaw's shoulders bothering, his thumbs bothering him. Like, we're just gonna put him on the IL. Kenta Maeda, when he was there, that would happen all the time with him. He's like tired. And just like, yeah, go sit down. We got like 10 other guys that can come up and take your job.
Exactly.
Like, stripling, just come up here, dude.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't draft rookie pitchers. I really don't. I don't draft pitchers that can't go long, long term. I wait for the guys instead who will come up inevitably in the middle of the season and be good, and snag them instead. And because when they come up in the middle of the year, you can keep them the entire season, and so you don't have to worry about this innings limit crap that you're gonna have to deal with Rodriguez. And as much as I want to say Rodriguez is gonna be awesome, how many times have we also seen rookie pitchers come up and just get absolutely rocked? I mean, it happens. So I hesitate with it. Maybe I'm just biased. I know there's examples where it doesn't happen, but it just isn't something I'm willing to, there's other guys when I'm drafting, there's other guys at that spot in the draft that I need to fill. Then I need to take a chance on a guy like a Grayson Rodriguez, and that's my thing. And so, I've probably filled out at this point in the draft most of my starting pitching roster. I don't need to take like the upside chance on like my 8th or 9th starter on a Grayson Rodriguez, and whatever. And I can just be a little safer with it, or I'm going after bench bats at that point, or like back end bats. So Rodriguez isn't a guy that I really care about, especially now that his ADP keeps going up. Because, as we get closer and closer and closer, people always want that new shiny toy. And that's kind of a problem. Like, let everybody else take these players, especially the rookies, at their ceiling, potentially.
Yep.
Right? And you just pay for reality with somebody else. And so...
Yeah,
over here to another Baltimore Oriole, it's Felix Bautista, their closer. His stock's dropping, which seems kind of weird. Like, closers are like the big thing, right? You want guys who have the job. You want guys that have pitched well, and Bautista did a phenomenal job last year when he finally got the job because Lopez got traded. I don't get the drop in the ADP, unless he got injured, and I'm not really sure.
So he kind of dealt with some injuries last year, just kind of some nagging knee injuries, but nothing alarming.
Possibly, but he's striking out two people.
Yeah, he appeared in a game this week. Today, I don't know when you're watching this, but he pitched today. And he looked awesome.
March 14th, everybody.
Yeah, March 14th. He pitched awesome. He looked sharp. He was hitting 99 on the fastball. And we've seen it last year. The guy's got great strikeout qualities, electric fastball, top-tier velocity. I don't quite get the pitcher. Yeah, and I just don't quite get the dip right now. Baltimore seems, right, they seem to be an improved ball club. They could be putting up some more save opportunities. I just don't quite get this dip here. And even at, that ADP, before, obviously, and then prior now at 92. I'd even be all in at 92 ADP.
I mean, he saved 15 games last season, and he wasn't the full-time closer for that team.
Yeah,
they had Lopez for a bunch of that season. And, yes, that was after they got good, after Rushman came up, and they finally started clicking. They went on that run at the end of the season, but who's to say they can't do that again? Look, they're not going to go on that run that they went for the last however long of the season last year for the entire year because they would win the division. But, like, it's who's to say he can't be 30 saves? Lopez was a year ago.
Right. Like, and he's better than Lopez.
Easily. And, yes, he is. So, I don't get the drop, and I'm all over it. If I don't take Bautista only because I go after like 1-star closer and then like I wait. Same. And he goes in that range where I'm not waiting anymore, or I'm not
you already got to
grab one. I've got my one stud and then I wait. But if I were to wait, if I was one of those teams that wanted to wait forever, that's a perfect fit. I think he's going to be super good. I don't understand it. So
I totally agree.
Let's move over here to a guy who I'm not really sure I'm going to pronounce the name right. I apologize. Brandon Pfaadt?
Yeah, Pfaadt.
Arizona Diamondbacks. This guy, his draft stock is super low, but he's becoming more and more of a popular pick, and you can tell with that min pick, right? He's starting to get into that range where, and even the ADP lately of 301, right, where he's being drafted in the majority of leagues. Now, these ADPs come from NFBC. So take it with a grain of salt. Go look at your ADPs wherever you play and make sure, take advantage of the ADPs. I always say that. They're not a Bible. They're not something you need to follow for sure, but they do give you an advantage if you know, like, hey, on this site, this guy's being totally undervalued. I can wait a couple of extra rounds.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Our cheat sheet, by the way, does help you with that. So plug there.
Definitely.
But the 301 since the start of spring and then the 240 min pick means people are buying in on this guy, but I'm hesitant, man. I don't know if this guy actually breaks camp. And then at that point, what the hell do you do with him?
Yeah, kind of similar to what we were talking about Grayson, right? Like, not only is he fighting for fifth rotation spot, he's going to be a rookie. The helium is getting just inflated into this guy. A lot of that like off-season talk, and now into the beginning of spring training of he is. Let's be honest, he's fighting for a fifth rotation spot with two other guys too. So it's not like he's like locked into that fifth spot. However, many people think that he is going to be. However, he's going against Dre Jameson, who did pitch for the Diamondbacks late last year and looked awesome. Now, however, Judge Jameson has also had a rough spring as well. But Pfaadt has options left, so it's not like they have to bring him up and start him as the fifth rotation spot.
Right. That's the problem. He's got options left, and teams like to take advantage of that.
He just got roughed up in his most recent start, too, with 4 earned and 3 innings pitched. So it's not like he's blowing the doors off the competition at spring training. Now, he does have great strikeout qualities. He led all of minor leagues in strikeouts last year, which is one of the reasons why he's getting this helium, right? He had this awesome 2022. So everyone's buying in that he's going to get this fifth rotation spot. But even at that ADP, I don't want to commit until I fully know that he's got that spot. And then when he does, that ADP is just going to be already out of range for me at that point as well, too. So,
yeah, I mean, the problem with him is like, I mean, I guess what people are thinking, like in this course of like NFBC, and so if you want to win these big tournaments, right, you need to go take chances, and why not at that ADP? This is like I don't even know, like 25th round, whatever it is, 15 team leagues. This is super late,
right?
So it's like why not? But like I felt like when he went in one of my drafts, I was like, there's way better players I know I can rely on, and yeah, he could blow them out of the water, but again, he's another one of those guys, like when he comes up, how many innings is he really going to pitch?
Exactly.
Then what are you going to do with him in July when they shut him down, or they start holding, they just don't pitch him this week, they skip his start, and you had him in your starting lineup because it's a weekly lineup league. Like, what do you do with this guy? Like, he's just a headache. That's why
he could absolutely start the season as a fifth starter, get blown up in his first 2 starts, and be back down in the minors by May.
And then you're going to drop him. Yep. And then thank you, I'll take him for $1 off Fab a week and a half later when he gets called back up, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And that's what's going to happen. And so that's why I just don't care to draft these guys. Same with Grayson Rodriguez, and he's almost even worse because his ADP's like half of this.
Right. Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
I know there's a lot of people out there that play NFBC, and they're way better at it than me, and because that's just not my bag. But I'm just not as risky with these rookie pitchers. I just feel like the headache of the innings limits and stuff like that is just not worth it to me. But let's finish off here with a pitcher that we do know is going to start in the league, and actually has an ADP worse than Grayson Rodriguez, surprisingly. Chris Bassitt, and it's actually gotten worse since then too, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Chris Bassitt had a truly, and we wrote New York Mets here. It's actually Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, sorry, yeah, that's the old team.
So we can fix that, but we probably won't be able to for the show. But yeah, so anyway, it's Toronto Blue Jays, Chris Bassitt, so he moves from the Mets, which is, he had a career year there, right? Like, we know that for a fact. I have him in a league, and he was phenomenal. Why do you think his ADP, you see these guys who have these really great years, and then I'm fixing it as we do this,
Nice. On the fly.
On the fly
editing.
Fixing.
Yeah,
there we go,
love
baby.
That. Love that.
Let's fix the ticker too.
But yeah, while you do that, let me break down.
I think a little bit. So
Let me take that off your hands for you. So obviously coming off the career year, he had a career high in innings pitched. With the Mets, now with the Toronto Blue Jays, he's now going from the NL East, the AL East, which is arguably a better division, right?
Is it though?
I think so.
NL is pretty solid. Braves, Mets, Marlins.
Yeah, you still got to deal with. Yeah, I guess it's fairly similar. I guess.
The problem is, look, I think the AL East gets a reputation from the Yankees Boston thing. Boston sucks now, guys. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not.
That's what they said. That's what they said. Was it last year, 2 years ago, when they almost went to the World Series? So it's hard to say that they always suck, but.
Yeah, but the Boston's not gonna be good this year. Come on, I think everybody kind of knows that. They keep telling people, like, and I don't know.
Boston to me is like that St. Louis Cardinals. For some reason, they just always are good, no matter who's on the team. But But
Who
anyways, I
gives?
digress. I digress.
They weren't last
Yeah.
year.
But I think a lot of the dip is coming from, it's again spring training. Everyone reads the little blurbs on the players, things like that. He's had a couple of rough starts here in the beginning of spring. He's given up a earned run in each of his starts. His ERA is up now 6.75. That might scare people off a little bit. I think maybe people just aren't buying into the 2022 stats as well. I don't think they see a repeat performance. I know I don't. I just don't know. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys. I think he gets like less than a strikeout per 9, strikeout per inning.
Yeah, he does. Just slightly.
We spoke earlier, right? He's going ahead of guys like Charlie Morton, Pablo Lopez, and even for a lesser extent, Dustin May. All three of those guys, I think, I'd have over Chris Bassitt.
Yeah. I get you with the fact that, like, I don't think he's going to repeat last year. Like, I don't believe it either. But, I mean, in Oakland, it's not like he was bad. I mean, like,
No.
3.15, 2.19 ERA. Like, he's always been right. He's always been good. It's not like everyone would say last year was like a super career year, but like when you really look back at it, it really wasn't. He just pitched more innings, so he had more strikeouts. The Mets were good, right? He just was consistent last year, and so the problem is going to be moving from the Mets ballpark to the Blue Jays ballpark for him. That's going to be the problem, because he can allow some home runs, and so that's kind of the problem, and so that's going to hurt him. But I'll tell you, at this ADP, I'm fine with it. I'm all in.
Yeah, I would say his ADP is in the range that, like, it's not out of the ordinary. I don't think he's like being touted as some top guy that's be top 100 pitcher or a pick. I think his ADP right now where it is, and even where it's kind of been, is just like in that range of like that blob of tier of pitchers where it's like what you're going to get from him, right? It's like
I'll tell you what, the projections hate him.
Yeah,
the projections have him at like 3.86. I personally would put that back. I would put that back down a little bit. He hasn't
he's a 3.45 career.
He hasn't had an ADP that high, and except for his 2016 season. And that just doesn't make any sense. I don't really know where that's coming from. Maybe it's ballpark factors. Because, he pitched in Oakland for a while, so we know that's a pitcher's ballpark. The Mets, that's a fairly good ballpark. Good defense as well behind him. So, I don't really get the hate on it. I do like him. I haven't drafted him yet, but I'd be.
I don't see that. I don't quite get the dip. Nothing's really warranted a dip other than a couple rough starts, and they weren't even that bad in spring. But it's just maybe, I guess,
I think it's also in that point, like the lack of strikeouts. Like in that point in the range, you can still get guys who can really strike out people. So that might be part of it. But all right, guys, that is it for the show. I want to thank you for tuning in. We got Jason, myself, Joe, and make sure you tune into the rest of the content here we have on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit those like buttons, and guys, become an All Access member and get access to our number one, the most accurate rankings there are in the industry. Keith Lott finished number 1. I was number 6. Travis Argo's number 10. The only site to have top 3 in the top 10 on Fantasy Pros. We've got draft cheat sheets. We've got a Discord channel. Hit that all up and just reap the benefits there, guys. It's going to be great. So go to fantasysixpack.net/plans. Use promo code F6PMLB for 15% off. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon. See ya.